I'm Timothy Vigil, and this is Just Another Word, the Word of the Day podcast for storytellers. Episode 28, Nacreous, possessing the luster of mother of pearl, Pearly. Yesterday, we breathed in the rain. Today, we open our eyes to the light. But we aren't looking at the obvious. We're looking at the shifting, the iridescent, and the often elusive. We're continuing our 5-part mini-series on the 5 senses by focusing on the one we rely on most, yet often describe the least effectively: sight. Imagine with me, you're writing a scene about a metallic object. You describe it as shiny or bright. You tell us how it looks, but do we ever actually understand the way that it shines? Do we get a true sense of its brightness? We can go deeper. We can look at the shifting quality of light that suggests there is something more beneath the surface. So let's look at the word nacreous. To understand it, let's first dive into the sea. Nacreous is an adjective. It comes from the word nacre, which is the mother of pearl found on the inner layer of certain shells. It is the substance that creates pearls themselves. It is a very specific term that evokes a very specific object. But phonetically, it's also a quite slick word. It starts with that soft N and glides into the OUS, feeling as smooth as the surface it describes. It's a word that suggests layers, depth, and a light that doesn't just sit on top of an object, but seems to glow from within it. In narrative, we use sight to describe more than any of our other senses, but we can often fall into a trap, the trap of observation. But I would argue that we should be using sight instead of for observation as a way to control focus. This is vital to understand because sight is the sense we are most accustomed to consuming. We live in an age of television and film, where every pixel is provided for us. Because of this, many authors fall into the sight trap, trying to describe things so specifically that they leave no room for the audience. But prose is different than movies. In a book, the reader is the cinematographer. When you use a word like nacreous, you aren't providing a 4K blueprint. You're providing a specific quality of light, an iridescence. Because remember, it is your job to provide the spark and trust the reader to build the fire. And then you have to stop. And I'm talking about sight descriptions here. You must trust the reader to fill in the blanks. Their version of a nacreous sky will always be more vivid than anything you could force into their head with 3 paragraphs of description. Because the more specifically you describe it, the less likely that the reader will be able to understand your description. You must allow the reader to co-create the image that you have in mind. It's going to be different than exactly what you're picturing. It's almost impossible for you to put your exact image into every single one of our heads. But you can create an image in everybody's head that is similar. And it will be so much more real if the audience is a participant. Now, nacreous is what I would describe as a hyper-specific word. Its meaning is so specific that if you know what it means, it will render an image almost instantly. This is good for us, but it's also a quite niche word. So how can we use it? Much like petrichor, the secret to using nacreous is in the words we surround it with. Take this example paragraph. The sky was an oily nacreous gray, bruised with light that felt unearned in the pre-dawn hours. Clouds shifted overhead like the slick, iridescent scum on a stagnant pond. It bathed the world in a sickly light. It made the air itself feel tainted. Here, I've used the word. And for the reader who knows what it means, it will strike an image. They will have in that first sentence an idea of what the sky looked like. But I surrounded it by other words. I used oily, bruised with light that felt unearned. These give a sense. I don't want to abandon the reader who doesn't know the word. And I've given them more context, going back and saying clouds shifted overhead like the slick, iridescent scum on a stagnant pond. They get a sense of what is going on. Their vision of that is going to be quite different than the one that I have in my mind, but they'll get a sense of what nacreous means even if they don't know it. I've given their brain something to latch onto, but I don't want to overstay my welcome. I don't want to keep describing it, giving you so much detail, talking about the pinks and yellows or whatever colors I have in mind. That's not important. I want to let you create the colors for yourself. What are those oily colors? Does it look like the shimmering surface of a bubble to you, or does it look like an oil slick? Either way is fine to me. I don't need you to see exactly what I see. And then I am going to tie this to the character, giving a sense of how the light is impacting the character. That last sentence, it bathed the world in a sickly light and made the air itself feel tainted. This is the character interpreting how the light is impacting them. And this gives the reader a sense of, oh, this is a little eerie to the character. And that's powerful. We have used this word to both give you a sense of what is going on outside in the world and what is going on internally inside of the character. And that's how we want to use words like nacreous. Now, sight is both the easiest and the most difficult sense to use in our stories. And I hope I've shown you a little bit here of why. Because it is so easy to try and over-describe, and it is also really easy to under-describe, to not give enough detail that the reader can never see anything that is going on in your story. But Nacreous reminds us that we can allow the reader's mind to take over and do a lot of the work for us. Using specific words and small bits of description, rooting that inside of the character allows us to create something that is vivid for every reader, even if that image is completely different from one person to the next. So in your next draft, don't just tell us the sun was bright. Tell us how the light shifted when the character looked away. Use a word like nacreous to help us see the iridescence. Give us a specific anchor to understand. Show us how this is impacting the character, and then get out of the way of our imaginations. Trust your reader to see what you see, and give them just enough light to find their own way through the scene. I'm Timothy Vigil, and this has been Just Another Word. Happy writing.